Well, hello and welcome, folks, to today's KKE Patching Step by Step. So I hope everybody had a great week since we last met and looking forward to some fun stuff today. We're going to talk about patching today, obviously, and I'm actually going to dispense with Deck, just our typical preliminary instructions, information, and resources and such as that. And then we're going to jump right into actually demoing how to set up patching. Cool? Awesome. Well, I've got Eric and Andrew with me here today. Andrew's apparently eating his lunch while he sits with us, so he won't be talking much. But I got Eric. Eric, you want to say howdy?
Good morning, everybody.
All righty. Cool. All righty. So some big picture questions. As we always do, folks, we just want to kind of get you in the right mindset, thinking about what we want to talk about today. So got some real simple questions. One, have you already watched the Patching Week KKEs? Maybe you came to them live, maybe you watched the recording, maybe you went through both. We've got two of them sitting out there in the archive. I'm going to link them for you a little bit later in case you haven't watched them, but you should. They're going to teach you all the great best practices that we're going to cover today, and they're going to go into a little bit more detail than I'm going to be able to go into today. When we do demo, we just don't have quite the time to go into some of the really important details that I'm going to gloss over or just mention in passing today. So I definitely recommend that you watch that, even if you sit through all of this today. Very valuable information. And of course, when you bought your K1000, you got training. You got Jumpstart. Okay? Have you gone back and watched those? Maybe you weren't with your company at the time they got the training, or maybe it's just been a while and you don't remember all of that stuff and you've only now gotten around to setting up patching. Either way, you've got some free patching training already included in those Jumpstart recordings. You can go watch anytime you want to. But maybe you've done all that and you still don't quite get it. Well, that's what we're here for today. As I said, I'm not going to be able to go into a ton of detail on all the bits and pieces, but you're at least going to get to see me walk through setting all of the stuff up. Okay? But before we do, as I said, we got just a couple of slides to go through. We always cover this kind of information in case you don't know where to get to the recordings of the KKE sessions, the past sessions we've done, many of them anyway. You can get there by going to case.com/KKE and clicking on Recording Archive. It's really simple. Now you can choose from the tags drop-down list at the top of the page, patching, for instance, and you're going to find all of our KKEs that at least touch on something to do with patching. And really, really importantly, always want to call out, contact the training team there at the bottom of that page. Now you click that link, it's going to bring up a little form, you fill it out, send me and some other folks here an email. Let us know what you want to see us do. Let us know what's good, what's bad about KKE. Let us know what topics you'd like us to do in the future. Any feedback at all, positive, negative, or otherwise. Please, please, please click the link and send us that feedback. Alrighty, so what we're going to talk about today is current as of the latest version. I'm going to be pulling up my Lab K1000 and walking you through doing stuff. My Lab K1000 is at the very, very latest version you can see at the top there. I have not only 6.0 itself, but the recent security pack that has come out for 6.0, just a patch on the 6.0 version that includes some fixes and performance improvements as always. So I strongly recommend that you get upgraded to the latest version of your K1000 before you do anything, especially if you're not in 6.0 at all. Then a lot of the demo today is not going to look familiar to you at all. So you want to get upgraded to the latest there. Resources, as always, again, want to point out to you, in case you didn't know, different ways to interact with our support team. You can log tickets, edit tickets directly by going to support.case.com. You can reply to tickets, send email to generate tickets, or to interact with case support at support@case.com, and it will generate a ticket for you. You can search our knowledge base. We reference knowledge base articles all the time in the KKE. You go to case.com/support, case.com/KB, or just go to case.com like I do, click on support at the top of the page, and you click on knowledge base. You can get there that way too. And that's how you can search and find all of our knowledge base articles. A lot of times they don't return in Google searches. So that'd be the fastest way to find one. And of course, we cross-post a lot of stuff in IT Ninja, but most importantly, IT Ninja is where you can go to get information directly from your case, your fellow case customers about all kinds of things, including patching. I answer questions about patching out there all the time. But you can talk about anything that's related to your job, whether case or not. You can discuss it with your fellow customers out there, get lots and lots of very, very valuable targeted information there. You have a suggestion for an improvement to your case supplies? Case.uservoice.com. You can also read up on the history of past requests, future requests there as well. And of course, our monthly EPAD newsletter that's going to be released here, the September edition will be released in the next few days. You can see past editions, sign up for new ones at case.com/newsletter. And now it's time to demo. Okay, but before we do, I want to share these links with you. Okay, the Patching 101 and Patching 201, the Patching Week recordings that I mentioned there. You can also request, maybe your company has had Jumpstart, but you weren't there for them and nobody has the recordings. You can request those recording links by hitting up that URL there. And we've got an upcoming KKE coming up soon. You can see at the end of this month. And I've given it a title. There's more than one way to patch cat. So I'm going to talk about some of the non-standard scenarios. Right, things that don't fit into the basic stuff that we're going to cover today. The basic stuff we covered in Patching 101, I'm going to flesh out some of the other scenarios that we talked about in 201. Okay, so I'm going to ask Andrew to throw all the links into chat there. Actually, I guess I'll have to do it. Give me just a second, Andrew. I'll do this for you. I realized I forgot to give those to you there. All right, so there's those two links and the Jumpstart recording link. And there we go. So now you got the Patching 101, Patching 201, and the link to request your past Jumpstart recordings. All right. Now that we got that done, folks, it's time for me to demo with you. So let me do that. Let me share my K1000. How's it look, Eric? Looks good. All right. So let's get started. So the first thing we need to do is we go to security. And notice that it takes us right to patch management already. And though it isn't laid out in this particular order, we really want to go to subscriptions first. We need to subscribe to the pool of patches that we're going to need. Okay? And the reasons it's laid out in this order is because you're only going to do this once and come back very infrequently, once a month, once a quarter, and massage your subscriptions. For the most part, when you come in here, you're going to be looking at schedules and catalog because things are rocking and rolling. That's the way we teach you. It's what I want to talk about today is we set it and forget it. Right? My IT Ninja handle is Ronco for a reason. And we're going to set it up, and it's just going to take care of itself on a month-to-month basis. We're only going to come back here and look at things from time to time, and mostly it's going to be our schedules and our catalog. So that's why we've laid the page out that way. But the first thing we need to do is come to subscriptions and tell the K1000 what operating system flavors that we have in our environment. That's the very first thing you've got to do is choose those things. Okay? And so the quickest way to find out what operating system flavors we have in our environment is to go to our software inventory. It not only knows about all of our operating systems, all of our applications installed on our machine, but it also knows about all of our operating systems. Okay, so let's use our smart label or our advanced search to search for what we're looking for. Okay, so what we're looking for is operating systems. All right, so let's do that. All right, so the display name of an application or operating system might contain something like Windows. Let's search for that. All right, we got some stuff. We got 546 items. That's kind of, well, look, it shows me what I'm looking for here. As it turns out, I know that I have these flavors of 7 and those flavors of 8, or 8.1 in this case. So if I flip back over here, I know which one of those to select. Okay, let me check out our servers. We could say something like this. Let's search for that. And what do you know? I have that flavor. So that's what I can select here. All right, so I have 2012 standard 64. I've got it selected. Now, I'm going to be standing up at 2012 R2 really soon, so that's why I've gone ahead and selected that one. I don't have any XPs anymore, so I could unselect that, but I do have my father-in-law's PC that he occasionally brings over here and I need to work on it. So I keep that one selected as well, so I can patch it when it comes in. And then my Macs. Okay, I can do the same thing. I can come here and search for something like OS space X. Right, and I would find any Mac operating systems that I have in my environment. Okay, and then I can subscribe to those. And as you see, I don't currently have any Macs, but I'm going to be standing one up pretty soon here. So I'm going to keep that selected for now. It's not really using up a ton of disk space on my K1000, so I don't have to worry so much about pruning things that I don't have anymore, especially since I know I'm going to have them again soon. But what I could do is come back every month or quarter or so, and as things get patched, for instance, let's go back here and let's see this, let's say name, contains Windows. So what I'm going to notice eventually is these are going to get upgraded to SP1 and SP2 and SP3 and so forth. And I'll notice out here that I don't have any devices anymore in the old ones, and I now have ones in the new flavors, and I'll need to come here and subscribe to the new things and unsubscribe from the old things. And I can use my software inventory to tell me this really quickly anytime I need to go and verify. Okay, so that's the first thing I'm going to do. Select the operating system flavors that I have and need to patch. Okay, I'm then going to select the language of those operating systems that I have and need to patch. Okay, in my case, only English, don't have any other languages. And FYI, by language, we mean the language that you purchased the operating system in. We don't mean that you had English language Windows installed and you simply went to Control Panel Regional Settings and changed the interface language to something else. Right? That's still English language Windows, and I only need English language patches for that flavor of Windows. Okay, just FYI. Then I need to come down here in my patch subscription section, and I may choose which flavors of patches for the things that I've already chosen above I want to get. Okay? And I go into this in much greater detail in the Patching Link 101. I want you to go watch it for a good discussion on what all that stuff means. Suffice it to say, I don't need to get bogged down into security patches, non-security, OS versus app, critical versus recommended, all that stuff. Those terms are meaningless. They don't mean anything. If you don't believe me, go watch Patching Week 101. I explain it all in detail. Okay, so we want to subscribe to all of those 4 checkboxes to make sure that all the patches that I might need for my machines, I get. Okay? But I don't want to check this one because I want patching to be patching. Notice what it says when I check that box. Are you sure you want to do this? The answer is no, I don't want to do this. I didn't mean to check that box. It was an accident. I won't do it again. Please, please, please uncheck the box. Okay? We don't want patching to be install random applications on people's machines, upgrade random applications to new versions on people's machines. What we want patching to be is patching. Okay, whatever version of whatever thing you got, that's what we're going to patch. Okay. Now, if there were some patches that I didn't want to get patched, right? So there's something on my machines that I know that Case will find needs to be patched, but I do not want it patched. Not on any one of my machines, none of them. Not a single one can get X patches or Y patches or Z patches, or whatever that might be. I could build labels excluding those particular patches, and I could put that label right here. I could click Edit, and I could drag over whatever I wanted to exclude. Okay, I click Save, and it would choose those patch labels for me. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that because there is undoubtedly nothing on my machines that I don't want patched. There's certainly nothing on all of my machines. Now, some of you might say, ha, Ron, hold on here. I've got some machines that I can't patch Java on, right? They need Java patches desperately. Java is a terribly insecure application. But I can't patch them because that'll break my application. I have to choose functionality over security in that eternal struggle. Can't have both, right? I can either have functionality or I can have security. I want the app to work, or do I want it to be secure? I can't choose both, right? So I do have some machines that I need this Java app to run on, and if I patch Java, it's going to break the app. So I can't do that, right? So maybe I do need to go build me a patch label that says Java title, patch title does not contain Java space JRE, and put that here. Well, the problem with that, folks, is that you don't need to exclude Java patches on every single machine. You don't have that Java app that'll break when you patch Java on every single machine. You might have it on a lot of them, but you don't have it on every single one. For instance, servers, right? So we're not going to exclude stuff here. We're going to exclude stuff later on in the deployment process to the actual machines in question. Right? So we're not going to use anything here. And then down here, we need to make sure that we have patches automatically activated as they come down, as I need them, as they get subscribed to, as they get on my K1000. I need to detect whether they're needed and then deploy them and so on. Right? I need them to be activated or else they're not detectable and they're not deployable. So they need to be activated. I don't want to get into this game of having to come here and manually approve every single patch. There's no point in having a patching system if I'm going to do that. Right? It's going to be my full-time job, approving patches and testing them and pushing them out. There's just no point in it. Okay? Even if I want the K1000 to implement a testing scheme, I can absolutely do that, and it can be automated. I still don't need to get in the game of activating patches manually. I want to make sure they get activated automatically as they come down. But you know what? If they've been superseded by a future patch, right, I don't want them activated. I want them to immediately get inactivated so they can't go to any more machines. Right? So have it automatically inactivate those, taken care of. No way they'll go to any machines once they've been inactivated. Okay, so once I've subscribed to all the things I need to on this page and I click Save down here, okay, then I've subscribed to signature files. Let's go take a look at that. So here in my settings module, control panel tab, see that up here, I can click on my patch subscription. This is my download settings. So now that I've subscribed to some signatures, right, I subscribe to OS flavors, language, patch types, and so on. Right, there's about 12,000 different patches available through Lumention, Case's patching provider, that I could subscribe to. Well, I've only subscribed to some of them. Okay, if I come back over here, I've subscribed to, well, let's just do it this way. Let me show you how many I've subscribed to. In my catalog, all patches, I have subscribed to 6,620 patch signatures. Okay, 6,620 patch signatures. Okay, And what that means is there are 6,620 patches that are compatible with what I've chosen on this page, available through Lumention. That's 6,620 patches that my machines might need. I don't know yet what they need. Okay? They might need them. Now, you'll also notice this number right here is much larger than 6620. That's because each patch can consist of multiple files. Okay, keep that in mind. Those numbers don't have to match or, as you can see, even be close. Okay, each individual patch might be 2, 3, 4 files. Right? So I'm subscribed to 6,620 signature files, and they got downloaded as I needed them every single day at 3 a.m. Okay, so when I first subscribed, a bunch of them got downloaded, and then more new patches were released by vendors every month, every couple weeks, whatever. Those patches get tested by Lumention. We cover that in the Patching Week KKEs. Feel free to go through all that. They get tested by Lumention, and then if they pass testing, they get released, and they get downloaded by my K1000 every day at 3 a.m. I get the latest patches that are released and approved. They get downloaded, but I only get the signature files. They only get the signature files. Right? So I get 6,620 signature files. Now I can detect which patches are needed by which machines. Okay? Now, those signature files are smaller than the actual patches that will get downloaded later on. They're just what's necessary for my K1000 to do a detection. Which of these patches are needed? And then only those actual patches get downloaded. Okay? Because I've chosen this option. And they get downloaded right down here every 2 hours throughout the day and night as needed. Okay, so I've got the signature files because I subscribed to them and this happened. I then ran a detection. I'm going to look at that here in a few minutes. I ran a detection and my K1000 discovered which patches are needed out of those 6,620. Out of those patches, which ones are needed by my machine, and only those got downloaded within a couple of hours. Now, if I'm worried about bandwidth downloading the big honking patches, I can set a blackout so it doesn't run, say, during my business hours. Right? So, out of 6,620 patches my machines might need, how many do they actually need? How many got downloaded? There we go. So I go to View By, Download Status, Downloaded. Out of 6,620 that my machines might need, they only needed 94. That's a pretty big difference, huh? That's why my K1000 is only using 2.88 gig for patches, because I'm only downloading 94 patches. Because I only need 94 patches by my machines. That's all that my machines need. Okay? So I do a detect of 6,620 patches. Turns out they only need 94. Those 94 get downloaded within a couple hours, and now I can deploy the patches that are needed to the machines that need them. Okay? Now, eventually, those patches aren't going to be needed anymore. Right? So if I come over here and I see that this one got downloaded, but there's no more machines that need it. That's what missing means. Right? Missing, 0. It means there's no machines that need that patch. Right? 2 have it installed, so obviously at some point 2 needed it. That's why they got it. Right? But nobody needs it anymore. But it's still taking up space on my K-Box. Right? 32, almost 33 megabytes is taken up on my K-Box. Okay, well, within 30 days, it'll be gone. I've got delete unused patches after, delete unused files after. And once my K1000 has gone 30 days without a machine saying, hey, I need that patch, then it's going to get deleted. Now, it's going to keep the signature file, so we can keep detecting whether somebody needs it. That way, if somebody needs it again in the future, we can detect that it's needed. It'll get re-downloaded, and then it can be deployed to the machines again. Okay, it's going to keep the signature file, but it's going to delete that file, the package, the file package, the installable patch file, and it's going to keep my K1000 clean and nimble, right? Not using up much disk space. Okay, so it's going to clean it off my K1000, going to clean it off my replication shares. It's going to keep everything clean and light. Okay, just by using that one little setting there. Right, so that takes care of my downloads. I got the signature files. I can perform detections. I perform detections. Now I can. Now my K1000 will automatically download the patches that I need. Now I can deploy them to my machine. So let's come back in here a little bit and look at the patches themselves, because it can be helpful to know what the patches look like, what they consist of, how they're listed here, so I can come find what I might need from time to time. So I've already pointed out 4 columns that are helpful. One, the size. Right? If I come back here and I look at all patches, for instance, I notice a lot of them that have 0 in the size column. Okay, and that's because I only have the signature file. I don't have the actual patch package, unlike here. Okay, so the other columns I pointed out, installed, missing, and error. Installed means that this is the number of machines that have the patch already. Maybe they got it from the K1000. Maybe they got it from some other way. WSUX, Windows Update, somebody manually installed the patch, whatever. Okay? Somebody's already got the patch. They don't need it anymore. How many need the patch? How many, when we tried to deploy it, got an error of some kind? Okay, now just because we got an error, it doesn't necessarily mean that it didn't eventually get the patch, right? We're going to try X number of times to deploy the patch. Maybe it failed one time, but maybe we got it the next time around or thereafter. But I can see the numbers right here, and what I want is a whole lot of numbers in this column and no numbers in that column, right? Because that means my patching is happening. Right? The patches that are needed by the machines are getting out to the machines that need them. Okay? So I can see that those numbers right there. It can help me navigate. I can sort. I can change it down to only showing me, there we go, only showing me the patches that I need, and so on and so forth. Okay? So notice that the name of the patch is a hyperlink, and I can click on it. I'm going to open it in a new tab, and then go to there to that, and I can see that there's lots of information about that particular patch here, right here, still in the K1000. Now, notice that the name here is a link again, and notice if you look in the bottom left-hand corner of my browser, you're going to see that goes to support.microsoft.com. Doesn't come here in the KBox. So I'm going to click that link again in another browser tab. And notice here, I can read lots more information at the vendor's website for the patch. Okay? I can see what all operating systems it's compatible with and so on, and so forth. Lots and lots of information. I can expand any of these areas and read until my eyes bleed about this patch. Okay? So if I come back to the K1000 page for that particular patch, I can see the name and the publisher and the package that's included and its severity and impact and all that jazz. Anything I might want. I can also see any labels of patches that I've built that contain this particular patch. I can mark it active or inactive. Right? Say I've tested it on a machine and it's causing a problem. I can come here and mark it as inactive myself, and then it won't be eligible for any more machines. I can also see where is it? Right here. Is it superseded by a patch? It isn't. And of course I know that because it would have already been marked as inactive according to my subscription settings. It hasn't been superseded by any other patch, but it itself supersedes other patches. I could go look at any of these patches, and I would see that they have been marked as inactive because they were superseded by this particular patch. Okay. If I come down here, under deployment status, I can see the machines that we tried to deploy this patch to, but they got an error. I can click on missing and see here are the machines that still need this patch. Click installed and see all the machines that already have this patch. There's none there. And I can click all and see all the machines in any of those three categories. Okay, so I can see details about the machines regarding this patch right here. I can also see the files that are part of the deployment of this particular patch. I can see that they've been downloaded to my K1000. I can see the size. And then it tells me here, how did I get subscribed to this patch in the first place? It's because I chose one or both of those operating system flavors in my subscription settings. Okay? So I can see lots of information about the patches right here in the K1000. I can also see if I want to get bogged down in stuff like whether it's security, non-security, whether it's critical or recommended or whatever, I can get bogged down in that stuff as well. Of course, once I realize none of that stuff matters, I can come here and turn off those columns. Right? Get a little more room in here for what I really care about. Okay? So I now understand a little bit more about the patches, and I got the columns here, the name and release date and installed missing error and size and so forth. And so now I can begin to search for a specific patch that I might be looking for, or build a label to include or exclude specific patches. So earlier I mentioned you might have the need to exclude certain patches. Yep, title. So, for instance, I've got certain machines, not all of my machines, but certain of my machines that I can't patch Java on. Right? I need to, desperately. And if I let the K1000 do it and I don't restrict it, it's going to patch Java on those machines. But I got this really crappy Java app, like, you know, every Java app ever written, that can't deal with Java getting patched. This is really, really bad. Long term, I need to find a better application. But in the meantime, I got to choose functionality over security. So I need to build me a label that will exclude Java patches for those machines. Okay, so I say title does not contain Java space JRE. Now I'm going to show you contains just for the moment so you can actually see that the label works. So if we click test, I see that there are 172 patches that match the criteria, and I can scroll down and see if it's got any that it shouldn't have in the label, or if I'm missing some that should be in the label but aren't. Notice the way that I'm doing it, it avoids the problem of some of the patches having been released when Sun ran the company, and some of the patches being released since Oracle bought them. Okay, I can do it very simply with title contains, or in our case, does not contain Java space JRE. So once I've figured out, yes, this is the right criteria to get what I want, I flip it to does not contain and I click test, and I'm going to get all the patches that don't have that in the name. This is the kind of patch label that I could push at the machines that can't get Java patches. And they'll get every single thing else that they might need. Right? All the Windows patches and all the Office patches and all the Adobe patches and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Patches for everything else that they might need except for the Java runtime environment patches that they need, but I cannot allow them to have. Okay, so I can create me a label name here. Right? I could click on it, and then I could click create, and it would create that label for me. Okay? Any of you interested in my naming convention, I've covered it in other KKEs, but this is a patch label. It's not a device label. It's not a software label. It's not a user label. It's a patch label. Okay? And it's X means negative, means not. T, short for title. There's nothing else in this drop-down box that starts with T. And then Java space Jerry is exactly what I typed into the line here. I put it in all caps because I'm differentiating between the field I'm looking in, title, and the thing I'm looking for in that field, Java space Jerry. That's my naming convention. Feel free to use it or come up with something better if you like. And then I would click create. I've of course already got this label, so I don't write it with this criteria, but there you go. Right? I can very quickly create a label to include or exclude any patches that I might need for whatever reason. Okay? And the more than one way to patch a cat, AKE, coming up at the end of the month, I'm going to cover one-off scenarios, like let's say 0-day type stuff, where there's this new Internet Explorer vulnerability. Right, and I've got to get it patched. I can't wait for the weekend when my normal patching would run and it would get the patch then. I need to do just these patches just right now, right? I'll cover coming here and building labels for those kinds of things later on. I just want to cover the basic stuff today. Okay, so I've got me some labels. I've subscribed to the right patches. How do we get our detections and our deployments done? That's the next step. Okay, so I'll come back to patch management and I go to schedules. You can see I've already got some schedules built. Okay, here's my one that's going to detect which patches are needed by which machines. It runs every single day at 5 a.m. And importantly, since not all of my machines are available at 5 a.m., I've chosen this setting right here. Okay, so any of my machines that are shut down at 5 a.m. or they're gone, maybe their laptop, they're gone at 5 a.m., right? Maybe they've gone to sleep via power management at 5 a.m., something like that, right? Well, whenever they show back up, certainly I can push out Wake on LAN, assuming my network supports it and my computers are configured to answer and so forth. I could send out Wake on LAN at 5:45 or, I'm sorry, at 4:45 or 4:30 or something to wake them up, right? But even if I do that, there's still some laptops and such that aren't there at 5 a.m., right? Or some machines that get disconnected from the network, and then Wake on LAN is not going to work, or they're Wi-Fi only, right? And Wake on LAN doesn't work over Wi-Fi, right? So I want this to be checked so that whenever the machines show up, they get detected at that time, right? If they come online at 8 a.m. later that day, or 2:30 in the afternoon later that day, or 2 weeks from now, or whenever they show up, the detection will run on them at that time. So let's remember what a detection is. It's going to take those signature files that have been downloaded through Lumention to my K1000. It's going to take all those that are compatible with the individual machine that I'm targeting or machines that I'm targeting. As it comes to each machine, it takes out of the pool of 6,620 patches that we might need, and first of all, builds a list of only the ones that are compatible with the machine, and it sets about detecting whether they are needed. Okay? It doesn't make any changes on the computer. It requires very little in the way of resources on the computer. People can be using the machines while this is running. They're not going to notice anything's going on. Because we're not using very many resources, though, don't expect it to be very, very fast. Right? It is going to take some time to actually accomplish the detection, but that's okay. If we're doing a daily detection of our machines, then we're getting up-to-date information frequently. Right? We're always going to know which machines we need, which patches, which ones already have which patches, and so on. K1000 being kept up to date with what we need and what we don't need. If we miss a machine here or there, it's not that big a deal because we're doing our scan every single day. Okay, we're going to be getting that information regularly up to the K1000. So I'm ready to detect only. I'm going to have it run on all machines. It doesn't matter. And detect the need for all patches, because remember, it's not going to bother detecting Mac patches on a Windows OS and vice versa. Right? It's not going to bother detecting server patches on a desktop OS and vice versa. It's only going to bother detecting the need for patches that are compatible with the OS on the machine it's looking at the moment. Okay? I've got mine running every day at 5 a.m. Any machines that are offline when it runs, they get scanned whenever they come online. Okay, so that takes care of my detection. So now I'll subscribe to 6,620 patches. I do a daily detection of whichever of those patches, those signature files are needed by which machines. Each machine gets done with this detection. It uploads that information to the K1000, and then within a couple hours of that happening, I get the actual patches that are needed. Now they can be deployed. Well, when do I deploy those? Let's go back over here and patch schedules. Okay, so I have different patch schedules for grouping different machines and patching them at different times and in different ways. So let's talk about why I break my machines up into certain buckets. Okay? So there are three main considerations I've got to take here. One, when are the machines available to actually deploy patches? Okay? Desktops, they're every night, all weekend long, all throughout a holiday. They never go anywhere. Most of the time, nights, weekends, and holidays, they're not in use for long periods of time, hours and hours and hours, in some cases, days on end. You think about a weekend, right? There's 60-odd hours where they're not in use for the most part, right? So I could patch them any time during that weekend. There's nobody there, okay? So think about laptops. Are they there nights, weekends, and holidays? Most likely not. Chances are, person got a laptop for a week for a reason. They're taking it home. They're going on regular business trips. Maybe they work from home, right? Those machines aren't there to be patched nights, weekends, and holidays. I've got to patch them at a different time, a different regular schedule. That means I got to put them into different patch schedules to run them during different windows. Okay? So that's one reason I'm going to break up my machines into different buckets. One is, when are they available for me to patch them? That's timing. Number two, K1000 performance. Okay? I told you that patch detections aren't really resource intensive. I only mentioned on the machines themselves, but detections aren't resource intensive on the K1000 or your network either. Okay? But patch deployments can be very resource intensive, not only on the machines themselves, I mean installing patches, right? But on the network in the K1000, because all those machines are downloading the patches from the K1000 across the network. All those machines run at the same time. All those machines probably need the same patches from the K1000, so they're downloading all the same patches at the same time across the same network from the same K1000. That's pretty resource intensive. You can only do so much of that at any one time. So I got to break my machines up into different buckets that the K1000 can handle patching it at any one time altogether, all simultaneously. However, if we utilize replication shares, so we set up a share in all of our different physical locations, and then have the K1000 replicate all the patches and software distributions and scripts and all that kind of stuff. It replicates all the downloadables to that share and tells all the machines in that physical location to get stuff not from the K1000, not across the network, but just from that share in its local office. Well, then now my machines aren't downloading stuff across the network from the K1000. They're not downloading stuff from the K1000. They're just talking to the K1000. I got this patch. I need that patch. I got this patch. I need that patch. Just passing information back and forth, not big honking patch files. So now I've made patch deployments no more resource intensive than patch detection. So now I can have a whole lot bigger buckets. I can patch a whole lot more machines at any one time. Okay? So number one, timing. Number two, performance. I can virtually eliminate performance as a consideration by implementing replication shares. So finally, the third thing, I told you there were three reasons you're going to break up your machines into different patch schedules. Finally, the third one, the last one, is the patch sensitivity that we just talked about, right? Most of my machines can get all the patches the K1000 thinks that they need, without exception. But I've got this group of machines over here that has this crazy Java app that can't allow Java to get patched. Okay, so I built me that label that we talked about. Patch title does not contain Java space JRE. I've got me a label of not Java patches. Okay, so I can build me a patch schedule that runs against only the Java JRE sensitive machines, and I can include that patch label so that they can get everything they need except for the Java patches that they need. Okay? But the rest of my machines, they don't need that label. They can get whatever the KBox thinks they need. If they need to get an IE patch, a Windows patch, an Office patch, an Adobe patch, whatever patches they need for whatever versions of stuff they're running, they can get without exceptions. Right? So I break my machines up into buckets, patch sensitive, not patch sensitive. And then I can build whatever patch sensitive labels I need to send the right patches to the right machines. Now, one other reason that I'm going to break up my machines in terms of patch sensitivity, and sort of a 3B there, is for testing purposes, right? I'm not content with Lumention's patching, with their patch testing. I want to do my own patch testing in addition to theirs, right? So it's a lot less likely that I'm going to get bad patches through Lumention than it was when I was getting patches directly from Adobe, Oracle, and Microsoft, right? You got your WSUS in place, you're probably chasing patch problems all the time because the vendor, Microsoft releases the patch and it's really crappy, right? They didn't do any decent testing. They didn't catch this problem. Okay, well, we're a lot less likely to get that kind of stuff in the first place because Lumention is testing patches, but they're not testing it in your environment, right? So it's still possible that the patch didn't cause a problem in the 400 odd images that they're testing in, but it's causing a problem on your machines. It's possible. A lot less likely, but it's possible. So you still want to do your own patch testing, okay? Now, if you want to do this, I don't have time to cover it today, but I have already covered this in great detail in the Patching Week Take-8 weeks. I go through every single step and explain to you what you need to do, how your testing group should work, how to set up the schedules and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so I strongly recommend you go and watch those KKEs for that. Okay, so now that we understand those, we can break up our machines into different patch schedules that run at different times and have differing levels of interactivity. Okay, so for instance, let's look at my desktops. Okay, so I pick my label of my desktops, okay, not my laptops. I make it a detect and deploy. This is important. Okay, a deploy is going to stop when it gets to a point that the machine needs a reboot. The detect and deploy will stop when it gets to the point that a machine needs a reboot. But the next time those machines reboot, it'll run again. And it'll keep patching, detecting, deploying, detecting, deploying, detecting, deploying. Each time it comes to a stopping point because the machine needs a reboot. From that point on, whenever the machine needs a reboot, it runs again, does detections, deploys more patches until the machine needs a reboot, and so on. It's going to keep running forever and ever and ever until it has no more patches for that machine. Okay? So detect and deploy, and if I pair it with a force reboot down here at the bottom, then each time it stops because the machine needs a reboot, it immediately reboots the machine, comes back up, machine blue amps with the K1000 again, hey, I'm here, you there? And it begins again, do a detect. What patches do you still need? Deploy some more patches. We get to the point that we need a reboot, force a reboot. Okay? Patch and reboot, 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 patch and reboot. Because this is running in the middle of the night, 3 a.m. Nobody's there. Nobody comes in till 8. Okay? So mine's going to run 3 a.m. It's either going to completely finish or it's going to stop after 4 hours. Okay? That's how long it's got to run. Now, chances are new PCs or modern PCs, they don't have to be brand new, but a modern PC and modern operating system, processor, RAM, all that kind of stuff, no matter how far behind in patches the machine is, it will not need to run for 4 hours. It's going to finish in way less time than that. Doesn't matter if it's brand new Windows 7 SD1 that's 5 years old and needs 300 patches, it ain't going to take it 4 hours to finish. But, and we got a slow machine, right? Maybe the reboots take forever. Right? We want to give it a time limit so when people come in, it's not still running and forcing things to happen. Okay? So detect and deploy, force reboot. When do we want it to run? I'm using crontab here. You can click the blue question mark here and you can read all about crontab. This one's running at 3 a.m. Any day of the week, any day of the month, as long as it's a Sunday. Okay, so every Sunday at 3 a.m. this runs. Okay, so does a detect and deploy force reboot. It's going to patch and reboot, 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 patch and reboot until either the machine is fully caught up to date or 4 hours comes to pass. Okay, so that's how I do desktops. My laptops, I deploy only. Okay, I only do this. A deploy, right, is because I can't. These machines, I'm patching them during the business day. If I scroll down, you'll see that here, right? I'm running every Friday at 3:30 p.m. Okay, so people are using the machines. I can't patch and reboot, patch and reboot, patch and reboot, patch and reboot, patch and reboot because they're using the machines. Okay, I've only got a limited amount of time to be able to interact with these particular machines. Okay, so I'm pointing it at my laptops. It's a deploy only. I'm prompting before I ever run. Why would I prompt? Why wouldn't I do this silently? Just go ahead and patch and then prompt them if they need a reboot. You can see I'm prompting for a reboot down here if it's needed. I'm never, ever, 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 ever going to patch something that is open. Ever. So I'm going to prompt them, and I am going to ask them to save their open work and close their program, then click OK to do the patching. I am never, ever going to patch things that are open. Ever. Never. Don't ever do that. Okay? If you think you want to do it and you think you have a good reason, call me. I will talk you out of it. Okay? Do not ever patch things that are open. So we're going to prompt them. We're going to ask them. We're going to ask. Andrew's telling me behind the scenes, he's saying, why don't you tell us how you really feel wrong? So seriously, don't patch things that are open. So we're going to prompt them, right? Notice we don't give them cancel. I only give them OK snooze. So they can snooze as many times as they want to. Right? If they're really super busy at the moment and they can't take patches, they need to get this thing done. It's Friday afternoon. They need to get this knocked out. Fine. They can snooze, 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 snooze. They snooze for 10 minutes at a time. I can change that number. Right? It goes away, comes back, and prompts them in 5 minutes. Okay? Right? So they can snooze as often as they like, but they can't cancel. Eventually, they will get sick of snoozing, and they will let us get our patches, which is the whole point in having a patching system. Okay? While it's patching, it reminds them, don't touch anything. We're patching. When it's all done, if it doesn't require a reboot, they get this message. If it needs a reboot, they get this message. Okay? And again, I get to control canceling, options, snoozing, all kinds of stuff I get to control down here with my reboot message as well. Okay? Now with this one, I'm going to use that same setting that I have on my detect. What if they're not there Friday afternoon at 3:30? Just because it's a laptop doesn't mean it's there during the business day. It can be gone then too. So whenever they reconnect to the network, I want them to get patched at that particular time. Okay? I don't have to worry about it, even if it's during the middle of the business day, getting them, they're getting prompts because they're getting prompts. Right? They're getting prompt ed, so they can snooze, snooze, snooze. I wouldn't run this setting on a desktop because they happen to not be there in the nighttime, and they show up during the business day on that desktop, right? I don't want it to then just start forcing patching and reboot in the middle of the business day. But I'm prompting on this kind of schedule, so I can run this setting. So if they're gone several Fridays in a row, I don't end up with them getting so far behind on patches that they never get caught up. Right? Whenever they show back up, they get the patches that they need, at least as many as we can deploy in one session. Okay? And then I've also got other types of schedules. I've gone through some of those in the past in the other Patching Week KKEs. I'm going to go through those in detail, some of the one-off weirdo scenarios in the more than one way to patch a cat thing coming up at the end of the month. Okay? So now my machines are getting detected on a daily basis, which patches are needed, which ones aren't. My K1000 is constantly keeping up to date with which patches are available through Dimension and which ones do I need and get those. Right? My patchings happen on a weekly or monthly or whatever basis, getting the right patches to the right machines as they need them. And it's done, hands off, automated. I'm not doing anything. As I no longer need some of those patches that got downloaded because all the machines that needed them got them, those patches get cleaned up on my K1000 and on the replication chip. Done. That's it. That's patching. Okay. So, Eric, Andrew, any chat or Q&A questions we still have outstanding that I need to take a look at in the few minutes that we have left?
We've gotten a couple in Q&A, but I think I've taken care of those. Ron, shoot me a message in chat if I have not. I do have one that I haven't answered yet in the WebEx chat from Daryl, asking about cron tab scheduling. I was about to answer that just by posting a link to a cron tab generator.
Yeah, give him that cron tab there. So Daryl, in terms of cron tab in the K1000, we don't support every single iteration of cron tab there is in Unix, unfortunately. So we've got some, I do believe we've got a knowledge base article that goes into some detail on what we do and don't support, but most likely it's going to be trial and error. All right, so there is that. John asks, John, I guess you're talking to me. Will I be at the Santa Clara boot camp? No, I will not be at that one. I will, however, be at the New York boot camp coming up at the end of the month. I think there are still some seats available. Eric will be at the Santa Clara. Go ahead, Eric. Speak up.
Nobody wants to see me. They want to see you all.
Whatever. You're much prettier than I am.
This is true.
Yeah. Not as smart, but much, much prettier. Okay. So, anything then outstanding, folks? Now's the time. We've got a few minutes left. If you want to ask something in question in Q&A or in chat, please send it to all panelists if you do so. Or, I guess we can just go and unmute everybody for the last couple minutes if you want to, Eric.
Yes, we can do that. All right, standard disclaimer, folks. If you've got some background noise, we've got quite a few attendees today. So please be courteous to everyone else. And unless you are going to speak up and ask a question, go ahead and remute your lines so I don't have to mute you. Thank you.
All right, folks. Ask away. You're here. I know that patching is a constant source of questions and confusion. So take advantage of the opportunity. Ask away. Nobody wants to be the first person to ask. But somebody's got to break the ice, folks. All right, so Chris asked in chat, I set up a no Java patch label, but the laptop I want to apply it to exists in my main laptop patch smart label. So I need to now edit that label to exclude that laptop. So there's two things, Chris. What Chris is referring to here is there's the label of machines that I'm going to target in a particular patch schedule. And then there's the label of patches. Let me go look, I think I got that one. Let's go back. Okay, they're here. So there's the label of machines that I'm targeting in the patch schedule, right? And then there's the label of patches that I'm going to include, okay? Okay, and then here. Okay, so we need to make sure that we're targeting the correct devices or machines and the label with the correct labels of patches that they should have, right? So if I want to make sure that my laptops that can't get Java patches don't get Java patches, then I need to make sure that the laptop is only in a schedule that is targeted by only non-Java patches. Okay? Does that answer your question, Chris? And make sure that I don't have that laptop in a schedule that will push non-Java will push Java patches at it. Okay. All right. So Steve asked, can I upgrade directly from 559045 to 60? I do believe the answer to that question is yes. Eric, can you confirm that?
The answer to that question is yes, but we don't recommend it. We recommend you get to 90548, which is the most up-to-date GA version of 5.5, with all of the hotfixes applied before moving to 6.0. There is a hotfix roll-up available to get you to 90548. So definitely get that applied before you upgrade to 6.0.
Does that answer your question, Steve?
Yeah, I'll try to track those down for you, Steve. While I'm grabbing those, Ron, we've got a question in chat from Saul. Is there a way to cancel a patching when it is running on a single machine?
So the short answer is not really. So I can go to settings and go to support, troubleshooting tools, view agent command queue, and I can kill a task that's running against an agent, right? But if the task is already kicked off, there's something I have to do on the agent side, right, Eric?
You shouldn't need to do anything on the agent side because that task is coming from the K1000. So when the K1000 times it out, essentially, it should kill it on the agent as well.
Was it 5.5 that implemented that? Because I know it hasn't always been that way.
I'm not sure when that started, but this patching is kind of a constant communication between the server and the agent. You kill on the server side, it's going to kill the agent as well.
Okay, cool. So there you go, Steve, or Chris, sorry. Or whoever, Saul, that's what it was. Sorry, I apologize, y'all. I'm terrible with names. So Chris said, yeah, I created a new schedule. However, the laptop is still in the main laptop schedule that gets all patches. So what you got to do is you got to get it out of that schedule, Chris. You got to get it out of that other schedule, however that you do that. Whether you create a label that excludes it, or, you know, you have to create a combination of labels and then exclude based on the fact that it's in the other label or whatever. You gotta get it out of that other schedule. Okay. Chris also asked, if a patch results in an error, 40, 84, 80, etc., and it needs to be deleted and re-downloaded to re-attempt deploy, is the only way to do it, get it to mark it as an active for 1 day, wait to delete, and then make reactive to reapply. First of all, you shouldn't be needing to do that sort of thing. If there is a problem with a patch as released from Dimension, they will create and make available for download a new iteration, a new version of that patch. if you've got a problem inside your network with a particular Thank you, Eric. Wow, that was bad. Okay, am I back?
Yep, gotcha.
Okay, all right. All right, so I need more information about that particular problem, Chris. Feel free. I know who you are. We've been together in training before. Feel free to email me that question in more detail, and I will be happy to help you with that particular problem. Charles said, great presentation, Ron and Eric. I am newbie, and this is very helpful. We'll also check out the 2 online training patch modules. You are most welcome, Charles. I cannot more strongly recommend that you watch those 2, Patching 101 and 201 KKEs. I shared the links with you in chat. Snag those and watch those at your leisure. The really cool thing about watching the KKEs recorded is you can hit pause, and you can go try out what you just learned, what we just showed you, and then you can come back and hit play again. Now, keep in mind, don't plan on always watching the recordings and never coming to live sessions. We don't post all recordings. Okay? Not all of them make the archive, so you want to try to catch them live when you can, and then rewatch them in recording if we post them to the archive. Okay? Eric's throwing the links in chat here.
Yeah, that link that I just dropped in there is the consolidated hotfix for 5.5. That will get you up to 5.5 at 90548, which is the minimum recommended upgrade version from 6.0. And you can upgrade any GA55, but support recommends being at the most current. So let's do that, not tempt fate.
So there'll be one reboot of your K1000 necessary to get to that hotfix level 5.5 there that Eric linked. Then you would upgrade to 6.0 from there, and there'd be another reboot of your K1000 required. So just the 2 hops. And then once you get there, there's a hotfix, a patch for 6.0 that does not require a reboot of your K1000. Jenna said, thank you for the presentation, Ron. It was very informative. I've learned a lot about patching. I've already started applying some changes to K1000. I really appreciate your time. You're most welcome, Jenna. That is why we do this, and it's great to hear that the information is useful to you. Please don't ever hesitate. Use the feedback link as well. Sending that information to us is helpful for tracking and reporting purposes. So you are most welcome, Jenna. All right, I don't see anything else in chat or Q&A. Eric, Andrew?
I've got a couple in Q&A. Don't know if you answered them. One from Ron. What about repealing a patch that may or may not have blue screened a few hundred machines the first day of school?
Yeah, we heard about that here. So first of all, my patch has the support rollback. So let's take a look. I'm just going to click on one at random here. Andrew, you're unmuted. You can say that yourself. Okay. The first thing is it needs to support rollback. Okay, and that has nothing to do with case. Absolutely nothing to do with case. It's all about the patch and the vendor of the patch. Okay, as long as it supports rollback, it doesn't matter whether the K1000 deployed that patch or some other system got that patch on that machine. The K1000 should be able to roll it back. Okay, so what I'm going to do then is I'm going to create me a label, and it may be simpler just to create yourself a manual patch label of that thing. If I just want that or those or something like that, I can just make myself a manual label, give it a name, click add, it'll create that label and dump those 2 patches that I checked the box in there. It may be simpler just to do a manual label for this particular quick kind of thing. And then go build me a patch schedule. If I go back to my patch schedules, okay, and I create me a new one. Okay, I make it a detect and rollback or a rollback. Works exactly the same way as the detect and deploy versus deploy, like I told you a moment ago. Okay, so I pick whichever one of those I want. I'm going to attack the right machines, whatever machines that is. I'm going to choose that rollback label, that patch label, that manual label I just created. I'm going to drag it over. Okay, I'm going to choose that and detect and then deploy, and then I can make it run now if I need to, or whenever. Right? Everything else that I told you about the different patch schedule holds true. Use the appropriate settings for the appropriate machines and so forth. But there's nothing stopping me from building an ad hoc, immediate patch schedule to roll back something immediately. Okay, I'll try to remember to make sure I cover that in the more than one way to patch a cat scenario at the end of the month if you want to come and talk about that. And you can give us your feedback on how well it works. Okay. All right, folks. I don't see anything else. You, Eric?
Yep, got one more Q&A from Fiona. In version 5.5, there are patches listed as not patched, and those listed patched are not all deployed. Will this be displayed differently in 6.0, and should there be any concern? I'm not sure exactly what Fiona's getting at there. You know, patched versus not patched, it hasn't changed. 5.5 to 6.0.
They're just the names, right? Installed is patched, missing is not patched, right? We updated the namings there, those columns. But, so if I have, read that to me, I have patches that show as not patched. What was that?
Yep, in version 5.5, there are patches listed as not patched, and those listed as patched are not all deployed. So,
oh, they don't have deployed dates. Okay, so, all right, I got it. So if I go to a computer and I come here and I scroll down and I look in patching detect deploy status, right, and I look at patches that this machine has, okay, but some of them, let me go back up here. Some of them, there we go, deploy date, are patched, okay, meaning that it has the patch installed, there's no deploy date, okay? That's because the K1000 wasn't what put this patch on this machine. We got it some other way, right? WSUS, Windows Update, whatever. Manually installed the patch, right? So if it says it's patched, it's patched. The K1000 was able to detect that it was patched. It already has that machine. That machine already has that patch. But the K1000 wasn't what put it there, so there's no deploy date. That help? All right. Good. There you go, Fiona. Anything else there?
oh, one more just dropped in the Q&A. Is there a way to set a patch schedule for the machine's first check-in?
Patch schedule for machines check. No. No, there isn't. What I can do, however, is make it run frequently against, so I have machines that, let's go back here. See, is this the right one? Yeah, it's custom inventory fields, OS. Here we go. Nope. K2000, what do I have it named? K. All right, let's go the easy way. So I have machines that got re-imaged on my K2000. Okay. It's going to be one of my other ones, K2000. There we go, image date, there we go, image date. Okay, so let's go to this machine here. All right, so this machine was imaged by my K2000. Okay, so I have a custom inventory rule that finds, right here, the image date right here. Okay, so it finds the date and time stamp of when my K2000 deployed the OS to that. I then have a label. Okay, if I scroll down to my activity section, I then have a label of machines that just got imaged. Of course, this one's been so long ago that it's not in there. But I have a label of machines that just got imaged. I'll show you the label. KPLOS, recently imaged. Okay, so what's going to happen is my K2000 reimages the machine. It installs the case agent. The machine checks in for the very first time, or it checks back in for the first time since it got reimaged. Either way, it's going to immediately join this label because that's finding machines that have their reimage date timestamp within the last 1 day. All right, and it's going to throw them in this label, and then I have a patch schedule that runs every 1 hour. Okay, so within an hour of that machine inventorying for the first time with the K1000, this patch schedule is going to run on it. Okay, within an hour of it checking in. Might be 1 minute, might be 59 minutes. Depends on the last time the schedule ran. Okay? So within an hour, this schedule is going to run against anybody who's in that label. Anybody who's in that label is going to get a detect and deploy with a force reboot. It's going to patch and reboot, patch and reboot, patch and reboot, patch and reboot, and finish off whatever my image didn't include. Okay? We covered this kind of stuff in patching 101 and 201. Okay? Jenna asked for the feedback. Go to case.com/KKE, Jenna, and click on, what did I say it says?
Contact the training team.
Thank you. Contact the training team right here. Thanks, Eric. Yep. All right, cool.
We've got one more from Chris. Is kind of bouncing back to Fiona's question.
Yep.
Hey, Ron, you got that? You saw it?
Yep.
Okay.
So I need to see, is it targeted by those patches at some point in the future? Okay. If it's detected as being needed, and so it shows as this machine is missing that patch, yet it doesn't show that that machine is going to get that patch soon. Right, so if I come down here, patching detect status, okay, deployment scheduled. This patch is scheduled to try to be deployed to this machine the next time a deployment schedule is scheduled to run against this machine. Okay? But if I look at missing, here's a bunch of patches that are missing that the machine needs, but it's not scheduled to be deployed to that particular machine at any point in the future. In my case, I've had patches, not installed, missing. I've had patches that have failed, and I only try 3 times. Okay? They've already failed 3 times, I'm not going to be trying that. I need to go dig in and see why they failed. I need to look into the error messages and so forth and try to figure out why. Okay? So there you go. All right, folks, I would love to hang on and take more patching questions, but I got to run. I got another jump start coming up in a few minutes, folks. So please, go watch the old patching week KKEs we did just a couple months ago. Watch your old Jumpstart patching recordings. Come to our next patching KKE up in the future. Buy training hours on patching if you want to, and I'll get in the WebEx with you and help you with your specific environment. You got lots of avenues available to you. Please take advantage of some of them. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, everybody.